Good day. It's nice to see you again. I would like to talk with you today about certain Twitter comments upon the sad death of Queen Elizabeth. Once the news of the death of Queen Elizabeth II had broken over the airwaves and the internet, it did not take very long before the long-readied acid-stained polemics from the always-ready keyboard vultures and the uber left-wing composed their paeans of hate, especially on Twitter. Most of the Twitter mob are of no real account, or being akin to the Carnegie Mellon University's Professor Uju Anya, who reacted to the news of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II suffering from poor health shortly before her death on Thursday by calling her a wretched woman and a genocidal colonizer, who is the chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire, adding, "May her pain be excruciating. I heard the chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating." Charming. Professor Anya tweeted that on Thursday. She later deleted the tweet after some backlash. But the previously unknown professor, unknown for perfectly valid reasons I might add, burst back on Twitter later on with the news, upon the news that Her Majesty had died, by stating again to reaffirm that she will not be expressing anything but disdain for the monarch who supervised a government that sponsored the genocide that massacred and displaced half my family, and the consequences of which of those alive today are still trying to overcome. You can keep wishing upon a star, she wrote. Following the publication of this article on Twitter, Carnegie Mellon University sent a statement to Breitbart News, the online newspaper. It reads, "We do not condone the offensive and objectionable messages posted by Uju Anya today on her personal social media account. Free expression is core to the mission of higher education. However, the views she shared absolutely do not represent the values of the institution of the university, nor of the standards of discourse we seek to foster." Fair enough. Even Jeff Bezos seemed to recognize that the professor's tweets were of incredible poor taste. He wrote, "This is someone supposedly working to make the world better? I don't think so." Wow. Knowing Bezos's profile and political attitude, this is akin to reporting the finding of Joe Biden emerging from a heroin dealer's front door in his boxer shorts, whilst gripping a pair of $100 hookers by their underwear so he could remain upright. But I think we should at least discuss the upsurge of hate-filled rhetoric to attempt to discover why this small, unassuming, gentle lady and her legacy is the target for all this bile. I think the words she chose when first dedicating herself to the service of her nation is at the base of all this garbage. This young princess said, "On my 21st birthday, I welcome the opportunity to speak to all the peoples of the British Commonwealth and Empire, wherever they live, whatever race they come from, and whatever language they speak." British Commonwealth and Empire? Empire? You see what I mean? Apart from that speech she gave in 1940, when she spoke to the children of the Commonwealth, her 21st birthday speech is what they will condemn her for. Her father, her grandfather, her great-grandfather, and great-great-grandmother Victoria are and were all totemic supporters and indeed creators of that empire. They, or rather their forefathers, the elite who ruled this rather unruly nation called Great Britain, were slow, sometimes tortuously slow, to accept the simple but profound statement that the owning and bartering of slaves, mainly of black men from Western and Southern Africa, was a bad thing, no matter how profitable it may have been. But the British did see the light and spent over £2.1 billion in today's money to purchase the freedom of slaves. The Royal Navy squadrons took years to stamp out the trade, as well as the loss of around 14,000 sailors. Was the empire evil on the whole? Probably not. True, there were many incidents where blood flowed to either further the empire's hold or to attack a crowd who someone assumed were threatening the Raj, as in the Amritsar massacre. On April the 13th, the day of the Sikh Baisakhi festival, tens of thousands of people came to Amritsar from surrounding villages to attend the city's traditional fairs. Most were not even aware that General Dyer had imposed martial law in the whole area. They were camped at Jallianwala Bagh, where a nationalist demonstration was being held. Dyer ordered his soldiers to open fire, and they continued until their ammunition was exhausted. However lunatic that action was, it was truly extraordinary, and possibly because Dyer was convinced that a cultural festival was turning into a mass protest, and he saw no way out. Again in India, certain high Brahmin Hindu priests complained to General Napier that the banning of sutti, where Hindu widows were burned alive on the funeral pyres of their husbands, was simply their custom and should be allowed. General Napier said, "Certainly you may begin building funeral pyres tomorrow. However, we in Britain have customs too. If we find that a man or a group of Hindu priests have arranged to murder a widow by burning her alive, we will build a gibbet, sling ropes and nooses, and hang all of those priests who planned the murder of that widow." When the British left India, they left a continent which had civilizing influence of British engineers, British law, transport links, the lists go on and on. The fact that over 2 million died because Hindu and Muslim could not agree to live together was nothing to do with the British Empire. The United States fought a war to leave British rule, but their quarrel was with the British Parliament, not King George III. South Africa was taken from the Dutch by the British Army and Navy to protect the East Indiaman convoys from the French. The Boer War was fought because the British wanted the Witwatersrand goldfields around Johannesburg, then governed by the Afrikaner Boer, and the Boers said no. In 1922, by that time, South Africa was virtually a self-governing colony. And when in later years they decided to leave the Commonwealth because of the apartheid laws, nobody in South Africa blamed the British Empire for anything. Neither the late Queen nor any member of the royal family alive today is responsible for colonialism or the exploitative actions of historic politicians and businessmen any more than you are. So enough with the bile and hate distributed around the Twitterati. Find yourself another target for your bitterness. Rest in peace, Elizabeth II. I thank you for your visit, and I hope to see you again.